Hey there. We've all been raised on this idea that being smart, like book smart, is the absolute key to a good life. But what if I told you there's another kind of intelligence? One that's actually way more important for your success, for being a great leader, and honestly, for just being happy. Today, we are diving deep into emotional intelligence.
So let's just ask the big question right up front. What really, truly predicts who's going to succeed in life? For so long, we've put all our chips on IQ as the golden ticket. But is that really the whole picture? Well, the research is pointing to something else entirely, something a lot more human.
And here's the core idea, which researcher Daniel Goleman really brought to light. Your IQ, that raw brain power, well, that might get you in the door. It gets you the degree, it gets you the job title. But here's the thing. Once you're in that job, whether you're a lawyer or a software engineer, pretty much everyone around you is just as smart as you are. So what makes someone stand out? What separates the good from the great? That's where emotional intelligence, or EI, comes in.
Okay, so we know it's a big deal, but what is it really? Let's break this powerful idea down into its most basic parts. When you boil it all down, it's actually this simple. Emotional intelligence isn't some kind of vague, fuzzy concept. Nope, it's a very real set of personal skills that any of us can learn. It's not about being emotional, it's about being smart with our emotions and with the emotions of the people around us.
Goleman lays these skills out in 4 main areas, and you can think of them like building blocks. See how they start with you, with the internal stuff, and then they build outwards to how you deal with the rest of the world.
And everything, absolutely everything starts with self-awareness. That is the bedrock. Seriously, if you don't really know what's going on inside you, how can you possibly manage yourself or understand somebody else? It's almost impossible. But once you have that foundation, you can learn to manage those feelings, right? Then you can start tuning into other people through empathy. And finally, you bring it all together to build really strong, effective relationships.
So the theory is cool and all, but let's look at how this stuff actually plays out in the real world. The difference between low and high EI can be absolutely massive, and I bet you've seen it firsthand. Come on, we've all worked for both of these people, right? It turns out emotions are literally contagious, and they spread from a leader like wildfire. A low EI boss creates a team that's stressed out, afraid to take risks, and just underperforming. But a high EI leader, one who's supportive, clear, and inspiring, they create a team that's motivated and firing on all cylinders. A leader's mood isn't just their own business. It directly drives how well their team does. But you don't have to be a CEO to have high EI. Just picture this. It's a sweltering, sticky day in New York City. You know the vibe. Everyone's got that invisible don't even look at me bubble around them. You climb onto a packed city bus, expecting a grunt from the driver, but instead, he makes eye contact and says this. It's so completely unexpected. That bus driver's name was Goleman Brown. And he wasn't just driving a bus. He was changing the entire emotional climate of that little metal box. He had fans, actual fans, who would wait on the corner just to ride his bus. He got over 3,000 letters of praise from passengers, and not a single complaint. The guy was a master of relationship management, on wheels.
So what was his secret? Well, get this. It turns out Goleman Brown was also a pastor. He didn't see his job as just moving people from point A to point B. He saw the people on his bus as his flock, and he believed his purpose was to take care of them. That bigger sense of meaning is what fueled his incredible emotional intelligence and turned a mundane bus ride into something special. Now you might be listening to this and thinking, wow, that's great for him, but I'm just not wired that way. Well, hold on, because this is the most powerful, most hopeful part of this whole idea. You can be. And this is the giant difference. Your cognitive intelligence, your IQ, is pretty much set. It doesn't really change much over your lifetime, but your emotional intelligence, that's a set of skills. And just like any skill, like learning to play the guitar or speak a new language, it can be learned and it can be improved, no matter how old you are. And this is all possible thanks to this amazing feature of our brains called neuroplasticity. Goleman has a perfect analogy for this. Try crossing your arms right now. Okay, now try crossing them the other way, with the opposite arm on top. It feels weird, right? A little awkward? That awkward feeling is your brain forging a new neural pathway. That's what it feels like to change a habit. So, this builds into a really practical 3-step method for changing. Let's take a super common cold of emotional intelligence, being a bad listener. Step 1 is self-awareness. You have to actually notice, hey, I have a habit of interrupting people. Step 2 is making a conscious, intentional choice to do it differently, to really listen until they're finished. And step 3 is just persistence. You keep doing it, even when it feels awkward, until that new, better habit becomes second nature. That is literally neuroplasticity in action.
So look, improving your EI can make you a better leader, a better teammate, and a happier person, for sure. But the implications here are so much bigger than that. This isn't just about self-help, it's about building a better world.
When we actually teach these skills in schools, the results are just mind-blowing. A massive study found that kids in these programs behave better, they're kinder to each other, and get this, their academic test scores go up by an average of 11%. Why? Because managing your emotions helps you focus, it helps you pay attention, and it helps you learn.
And this all brings us to a pretty stark and urgent point. As a species, our technical intelligence has just shot through the roof. We can build skyscrapers and edit genes, but as this quote from the School of Life puts it so well, our emotional wisdom just hasn't kept up. We have this unbelievable technological power, but often the emotional maturity of our earliest ancestors.
And that makes it pretty clear that EI isn't just a nice-to-have skill for the workplace. In a world that's facing some seriously complex global problems, our ability to understand ourselves and each other, to manage our worst impulses, and to act with empathy, well, that might just be the most important skill we have for our own survival.
And that really brings it all back home. We've seen what emotional intelligence is, why it often matters more than IQ, and the best part, that it can be learned. So the final question isn't for me, it's for you. Knowing all this, what's just one small, intentional step you can take today? Maybe it's just pausing before you react, or asking someone how they're really doing, to start building a better future for yourself and for all of us.